Hey, what's going on, family? This is Andy Henriquez. And of course, I want to welcome you to the Thursday night Show Up for Your Life motivational live stream. Hey, I got a message for you tonight. Listen, if you have experienced any kind of frustration in pursuit of your goals and your dreams, and you've just been trying to figure out, like, what do I need to get right for me to finally make some things happen? And you have been pursuing something that has been heavy on your heart, something that you really, really want to make happen, and it just hasn't been happening for you. I may just have the solution for you. Like, I think I know exactly what you need to be able to ensure that you get the things that you want out of life. So stick with me, because I got a great lesson, a great message for you tonight. So just give me a quick second. We're going to go ahead and get live. We're going live on YouTube, also going live on Facebook. So if you would just stick around with me, we're getting started just momentarily. But of course, this is Andy Henriquez. I want to welcome you to the Thursday night Show Up for Your Life motivational live stream. This is where you come each and every single week to get that midweek pick-me-up. And so, of course, I want to thank you so much for joining us. We're going to have a fantastic evening. I got a message for you tonight. Yes, yes. Hey, what's going on, family? This is Andy Henriquez here. And of course, I want to welcome you to the Thursday night Show Up for Your Life motivational live stream. I got a message for you tonight. Listen, if you have been like in the pursuit of your goals and your dreams, you've been in pursuit of something big, but you've been experiencing some frustration because the thing that you're pursuing just hasn't been happening for you. Listen, I have a solution for you. Like, I think I'm going to give you exactly what you need to put you back on track so that you can absolutely accomplish this thing that you want to make happen. And so you want to make sure that you grab a piece of paper and a pen, because I'm going to be dropping some things on you tonight that I think you're really, truly going to appreciate. Hey, do me a favor. As you're jumping on, go ahead and put in your city and your state so I could go ahead and give you a quick shout out. Hey, what's going on, Susan? Hey, Janelle. Hey, Tasha. Good to see you all. As you're jumping on, do me a favor, put in your city and your state so I could go ahead and give you a quick shout out. Hey, Jeff, how you doing? You guys, thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to be sharing with you the one thing, like the one thing, you hear me, that you must do in order to get the things that you want out of life. And like, if you are sick and tired of being sick and tired, like you have been experiencing some frustration in pursuit of your goals and your dreams, you've been experiencing some frustration with trying to get to the next level. You've been experiencing some frustration with manifesting and realizing some of the things that you really want. Listen, I've got something that I want to share with you that I believe is going to give you a competitive advantage, but I believe is going to put you back on track so that you can actually accomplish the things that you want to make happen. And so I've got a special message for you tonight. And of course, I want to thank you all for tuning in and joining me. Hey, we got Ohio in the house. Florida's in the house. As you guys are tuning in, go ahead and put in your city and your state. So I go ahead and give you a quick shout out. We got Mason, Ohio, Miami, Florida in the house. I'm in Hollywood, Florida right now. And of course, as you're tuning in, put in your city and your state. Once again, I'm going to be sharing with you, listen carefully, the one thing that you must do to get the things that you want out of life. There's something that you absolutely must do in order for you to realize and accomplish the things that you want out of life. And if you don't have this thing in place, if you're not doing this, then chances are you're going to experience frustration. If you're not doing this one thing, then chances are you are going to forfeit accomplishing your goals and your dreams. And I'm telling you right now, this can save you months off of realizing your goals and your dreams. Could even save you years of frustration, years of disappointment, and finally put you in a position where you can finally realize the things that you want to make happen. So once again, let me go ahead and give a quick shout out to a couple people. We got Mason, Ohio, Miami, Florida, Baltimore, Maryland. We got DC in the house. Got my man Glassstein, Utah, Kimberly. Hey, Kimberly, how you doing? And of course, we got Roxanne. Roxanne's tuning in from New Jersey. So perfect, perfect, perfect. So I've got this message for you. And really what triggered this message, and I want to make you realize something, that what I'm about to share with you, I am not exempt from this. As a matter of fact, I know exactly what it's like to experience frustration. I know exactly what it's like to be going after your goals and your dreams, exerting a lot of time, exerting a lot of effort, and being frustrated because you're not realizing and accomplish the things that you really, truly want to do. And so sometimes when that happens, we start to really beat ourselves up, and we just can't seem to put our finger on why is it that I want to make these things happen? Why is it that I want to do the career change? I want to lose the weight. I want to have a happy, fulfilling relationship. I want to generate a certain amount of income. I want to be at a certain weight level. I want to get out of debt. Whatever that thing is, why is it that you have the desire there, but you just can't seem to make it happen. And I want to share something with you, because a lot of times when we're looking for the answers for the things that really, really frustrate us, we're expecting the answer to be complex. But what I want you to realize is oftentimes when it comes to the matters of life, that really there's a matter of simplicity in the answer. And sometimes the answer can be so simplistic that it frustrates us because we want it to be difficult. We don't believe that it should be that simple. and we rather be difficult, because if it was difficult, if it was complex, then we can justify why we haven't been able to do it. Now, with that being said, let me help you to realize this. If you have been in the process of going after your goals and your dreams, you've been thinking about making a career change, you've been trying to accomplish your big goal, you've been trying to level up in your career, level up in your business, level up in any area in your life, and it's not happening, I want you to realize this, that chances are the reason why it is not happening for you is because of this one thing. And you're going to say, Andy, what is it? This one thing is that you are not being congruent. Now, listen, when we talk about being congruent, that's just a very fancy way of saying that you're not in alignment. And so what I want you to realize is this, that when you want to realize your goals and your dreams, when you want things to happen for you, you have to be in alignment. And oftentimes the reason why things don't happen for us, the reasons why we end up being very frustrated is because we're not in alignment. Now, first of all, you need to understand when we're talking about alignment, I'm not talking about you going to the chiropractor and getting an adjustment, but you understand the gist of being in alignment. When we're talking about being in alignment, we're talking about things are straight. In other words, things are connected. Things are congruent. Things are lined up similarly. And when we're talking about what is it then that, Andy, if you're saying I got to be in alignment, make it clear for me, and help me to understand what you mean by being in alignment. What do you mean? Now, here's what I want you to realize. This is what's got to be in alignment. Listen carefully. Here's what's got to be in alignment. Your thoughts, your words, and your actions. Listen carefully. Your thoughts, your words, and your actions. All three of those things have to be in alignment. And so let me help you to understand where the challenge lies. A lot of times we say we want something in our lives. We say we want to lose the weight. We say we want a career change. We say we want to get to the next level. We say we want to generate more income. We say we want to be in a happy, fulfilling relationship. We say we want to become debt-free. We say we want to leverage our gifts and our talents. And we're saying all the right things. And so our words are saying one thing. But what I want you to realize is that even though we're saying one thing, we're thinking something different. And so we say to ourselves that, you know what, I want to become an extremely successful businessman or a businesswoman. I want to get out of debt. You know, I want to be in a fulfilling relationship. But then if you were to examine our thoughts are not congruent with our words. And so on the inside, what we're thinking, which is oftentimes tied to our beliefs, we're saying that, you know what, I don't know if I really deserve to be in a fulfilling relationship. I don't know if I'm worthy of this promotion. I don't know if I have what it takes to be able to get to the next level. I don't know, or your conversation around money, your conversation around relationships is really, really toxic. And so what happens is you're out of alignment. And so what's happening is your words is saying one thing, but your thoughts are saying something else. Now, what I want you to realize is this. When it comes to your actions, the things that you actually do, your actions are not going to be tied to your words. Your actions are actually tied to your thoughts. Your actions are tied to your beliefs. So you could see where there's an issue here. And so where you wonder why the frustration, like for the person who's trying to lose the weight, and so they're saying they want to lose the weight. They're saying that they want to get in health. They say that they want to make some things happen. What happens is if their thoughts are not in alignment, if their belief system is not in alignment, then guess what? Their actions are not going to be in alignment. They're not going to go to the gym. They're not going to eat the healthy things. They're not going to do the things that they said they're going to do. And so you can see where it starts to create some internal turmoil. And let me tell you something. It happens to all of us all too often. And what happens is if you don't recognize the fact that you're out of alignment, if you don't recognize the fact that your thoughts, your words, and your actions are not congruent, then what ends up happening is you start experiencing this frustration. And so if you've been wondering, why am I so frustrated? Like, why is it that like I keep beating myself up? Why is it that like I'm not losing the weight? Why is it that I'm not making income? Why is it that I'm not leveling up? Why is it that these things aren't happening? Well, I'll tell you right now. I want you to think about whatever area that is. I want you to examine those three things and be very honest with yourself. Take some personal inventory and say, wait a second, are these three things in alignment? Like, I'm saying this, but is it congruent with my thoughts? And is it also congruent with my actions? And chances are, if you're experiencing any level of frustration, and if whatever it is you're trying to make happen is not happening for you, you are out of alignment. And so I'm going to share some things with you that I hope is going to get you to start looking at things a little bit differently. And so first of all, if you are committed to getting in alignment, if you are committed to putting your thoughts, your words, and your actions in complete alignment, and when you do that, life completely changes. When you do that, your results change. When you do that, the things in your life completely shift. When you do that, you begin to lose the weight. You begin to make more income. You begin to have that happy, fulfilling relationship. Like, everything begins to come together. And so first of all, if you are willing to get in alignment, do me a favor right now, in the comment section, put hashtag alignment, hashtag alignment, hashtag alignment. Because I'm telling you right now that chances are, if you've experienced any level of frustration, it is because of one thing, and one thing primarily, and that is you are out of alignment. Now, here's the thing. I want to help you to sort of see how this has shown up in my own personal life. And I want you to also see how it can show up in some of the most subtle things in your life. And so I started thinking about this. You know, I remember that there was a period in my life when it came to my business, when it came to me offering my services, both as a speaker and as a coach. I noticed that I developed this pattern. And here's what my pattern was. I'd be sitting across from a client, whether it was for a speaking engagement or whether it was a coaching client who was hiring me to help them to develop their story. As many of you know, I work with people who are entrepreneurs, speakers, and coaches, and I help them to be able to develop their stories so that they can show up more powerfully in the marketplace, so that they can attract their ideal customer and clients, so that they can close more leads, so that ultimately they can make more impact and make more income with their business. And so what I noticed was there was a period of about 2 years that I had developed the habit of actually offering people a discount. Now, here's what I want you to realize. Some of you might be saying, well, Andy, what's wrong with you offering people a discount? I want you to realize this. Very subtly, here's what I was doing. I was offering people a discount, number one, when they weren't even asking for a discount. Number one, they weren't even asking me for a discount. I was volunteering a discount before they even asked for a discount. Number one, that's the first thing I want you to realize. Then I noticed that it wasn't something that I was doing every once in a while. It was something that I was doing consistently. Now, here's the other thing. When I started noticing the pattern, I also started to reflect back on my days when I was a real estate investor. And sometimes what I would do when I was a real estate investor, let's say I purchased the property and I was wholesaling the property. Wholesaling is like a fancy way of like you buy a piece of real estate, and before you do any repairs to the real estate or anything, you get it under contract and then you flip the contract to somebody else. And I remember back when I was a real estate investor that I would wholesale some properties, and sometimes I would have some really amazing margins. In other words, I'd buy a piece of real estate, put it under contract, wholesale the contract to somebody else in the good old golden days. And sometimes I would have like a really amazing spread, like a $50,000 spread on a property that I did absolutely no work to. And what I would do oftentimes when it was the day for the closing, I would show up and then I would tell the people at the title company that I know my profit is supposed to be $50,000, but you know what? I want you to take $10,000 out of it, and I want you to surprise the other person and give them the $10,000. Now, you might be saying, well, Andy, what's wrong with that? You might be saying, Andy, that is just beautiful. I mean, you got to think about it. You have such a generous heart. God is going to bless you for that. And I'll tell you something. Yes, I am a giving person, and yes, I'm grateful to give. But I want you to understand that it's one thing to give, but we also have to make sure that we examine the motives of why we give. And so you might also say, well, Andy, you're just a kind person. You're trying to give people discounts. You're really just trying to look out for them. But what I want you to realize is when I further examined myself and I really, really examined why I was giving people discounts, I want you to realize this, that the real reason why I was giving people discounts at that particular time was because of the fact that I wasn't fully in alignment. And what I mean by I wasn't in alignment was that deep down inside, even though it might have been disguised as me just being benevolent, it might have just been disguised as me just being a nice guy and wanting to give people discounts and wanting to give people money back at the closing table. Deep down inside, the real reason why I was doing that was because there was a part of me that was feeling somewhat guilty for the exchange, for the transaction that was taking place. So in other words, there's a part of me that maybe did not feel worthy of the dollar amount that I was receiving for the value that I was giving. In other words, it's a fancy way of just saying that I probably, and not probably, but I wasn't necessarily feeling completely worthy. And so because of the fact that I wasn't feeling completely worthy, I was finding ways to give people discounts because I didn't feel as if I was fully, let's say, I wouldn't say worthy, but I would say that I didn't feel that I was fully entitled to that. And so I want you to realize that, or sometimes for those of us who are over deliverers, right? And so in other words, you are delivering top value and then you just keep trying to give people more and more and more and more. And sometimes what we're doing, we're delivering so much, and it's really to compensate for the fact that we don't necessarily feel that we're fully worthy. And so what I want you to realize is this, that is a very subtle way of recognizing that maybe perhaps that there's a lack of congruency there. And I want you to realize that it can be that subtle, and you can convince yourself, you can begin to disguise it. You can start to convince yourself that it is something else. You're just nice. You're just the over deliverer. You're just this, or whatever the example might be. But I want you to realize this. I want you to realize this, that sometimes it really has to do so much more with the fact that you are not in alignment. Remember, you need your thoughts, which are deeply rooted in your beliefs, in your words, in your actions, to all equal one another. And I'll tell you right now, one of the number one causes of rift and arguments in relationships is because someone entered the relationship one way, and then over time, they were no longer that person. And so I have a friend of mine, a colleague, his name is Ruben, and I enjoy it when I hear him say, you cannot consistently be somebody that you are not. I'm going to say that one more time. The first person I heard say this was a colleague of mine, a gentleman by the name of Ruben West. And one of the things he would say is that you cannot consistently be somebody that you are not. And so what I want you to realize is this, is that over time, your thoughts, your beliefs will override whatever it is that you're saying and whatever bogus, fake, temporary actions that you're putting forth. The real you will show up. And so at some point, you've got to do this. You've got to decide who you're going to be, and then you need to be that person. I'm going to say it again. You've got to decide who you're going to be, and then you need to be that person. But not be that person every once in a while. You need to be that person consistently, period. Listen carefully. You got to decide who you want to be, and then you got to be that person consistently. Do you hear me? And so what happens to so many of us, the reason why we're so frustrated is because we're out of alignment. We're out of alignment. We're out of alignment. And so I'm telling you that we could save you and so many people around you frustration. We can save them energy. We can save them from having to put up a persona and trying to make everybody else. And when we're talking about being in alignment, we're talking about being in alignment with you, not based off of what somebody else's dreams are, not based off of what somebody else wants you to be. I'm talking about you being in full alignment. You need to figure out what you want in this life. You need to start making sure that your thoughts are in alignment with what you say that you want. And if you know your thoughts are not, you better start being really, really intentional about guarding what you're putting into your mind, guarding the conversations that you're having, guarding who you're surrounding yourself with, and making sure that you're saturating your brain with the thing that you want to truly believe to override those things that you no longer want to believe. And then you got to make sure that your words, the things that you're speaking, right? Because listen, I'm telling you right now, it's been said that you will decree a thing and it will be established onto you. And then listen, the good book says this, that both life and death is in the tongue. And so oftentimes what is happening in your life is a very reflection of what you're speaking over your life. And then ultimately your actions, the things that you do, is in direct alignment with what it is that you're actually thinking. And so I want you to understand this, that at some point you got to get in alignment. Your thoughts, your words, your actions all have to be in alignment. Do me a favor right now real quick, because I'm going to break something down for you. I want you to go ahead and hit the share button, because I know that there's somebody you're connected to. They need to hear what I'm about to share. Go ahead and hit the share button. So here's the cool thing. As you guys know, I do something called the Master Storyteller Academy. It's a 3-day transformational a training experience specifically for successful entrepreneurs, speakers, and coaches who are ready to level up, take their business to the next level by strengthening their message, developing their stories that allow them to attract their ideal customer and their clients. And so what happens is I get the luxury between myself and some of the other people on my team that I get the opportunity to speak to people all the time who are considering doing my coaching program, people who are considering either getting coaching, they want to do a VIP day, a half VIP day, they want to come out to my Master Storyteller Academy. And so just the other day, I was having a conversation with somebody who wanted to attend one of my 3-day trainings, my Master Storyteller Academy. And so we're having a conversation, and this young lady, you could see that she really, really, truly had a desire to come out to one of my trainings. And she had our sign-up form, our enrollment form for our 3-day training event. And she was sitting there and she was looking at the enrollment form. She was sitting there staring at it. She was looking at this enrollment form for like 30 minutes. And then someone on my team came over and said, Andy, listen, this girl really, really wants to come to the training. We think she has a couple questions for you. Do you mind answering the questions? So I walked over to her. We sat down and she asked me some questions, and I listened to the questions that she had. And she was like, listen, I really, really want to do this training. I said, well, excellent, fantastic. Fill out the form, fill it out. And we'd love to have you be part of the training. She says, well, I don't know if I can. I said, well, why can't you? She says, well, you know, I don't know. I don't have the money, or I don't know if I could come up with the money. I said, well, listen, we're not talking about a whole lot of money here. And I said, listen, I'm a firm believer, if you at least have the deposit, that if you fully commit, like if you fully commit to this and you say I'm coming to the event, you pay the deposit, and you don't stop and end the possibilities for yourself by just saying I don't have the money. Because the moment you say I don't have the money, you end all possibilities, because you're not saying, there's a difference between saying I don't have the money and saying I don't know where I'm going to get the money right now, but I'm going to figure it out. When you say I don't have the money, period, you put a period and that's in. That's the end of the possibilities. When you say I don't currently have the money right now, but I will figure it out, and I will have it figured out over the next couple of days, then you will figure it out. And then so we were having this discussion back and forth, and I was trying to let her know that when it comes to that dollar amount, it's never really truly about the money. She says, you think? I said, listen, it's not about the money, because if you fully commit, you will come up with the money. And then to give her an example, I said, listen, do you have any kids? She said, yeah. I said, listen, if you had to come up with the dollar amount of the tuition for my Master Storyteller Academy, because it was the difference of life and death for your child. And I know this is an extreme example, but allow me to make my point. I said, if you had to come up with that money in 24 hours to prevent something from happening to your child, would you be able to come up with the money? She said, absolutely. And so I said, well, that just proves to you that it's never really truly about the money. The reason why you'd be able to come up with the money is because you would be fully committed to doing it. Do you get me on that? She said, yeah. And then so we had this conversation back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So she's filling out the form. She's looking at the form. She's looking at the form. She's looking at the form. So finally she goes up to my team, and then she ends up giving them the form. And then she asked us if we could give her a call and all that stuff. And if there's any way we can make arrangements and so forth. And she put the payment so far out, and I told my team, listen, chances are this is not going to happen. But what happened is, as I'm speaking to my team, and I'm thinking about this conversation I had with this young lady, I happened to look down at the form that she filled out. And I look at her email. And in her email address, the email says, mindset coach. Now, I want you to think about this for a moment. I just had a conversation with somebody, and we're not talking about a very big dollar amount. And she said 100% that she wanted to attend the training. And instead of saying, hey, I'm going to figure it out, this is what I'm going to do to figure it out, she says, I don't know if I could do this. I don't know if I could come up with the money, and started telling me all these different excuses as to why she couldn't necessarily do it. But she is putting herself out in the marketplace as a mindset coach. Now, I want you to realize that's not being in alignment. All right? That is not being in alignment. That is like someone telling you, your dentist telling you the importance of dental hygiene and taking care of your teeth. And then your dentist takes off their mask. And when they take off their mask, you see all this gingivitis. Their teeth are all crooked. They've got all kind of gum disease. Their teeth are falling out. That's like somebody telling you, well, you need to work out, you need to get in shape. And then when you look over at them, they're all out of shape. They got rolls and so forth, belly rolls coming off, and they're eating all kind of junk food. That's not being in alignment. Do you get that? And so what I'm saying to you, it's okay if there's areas in your life that you're not in alignment. But what I'm saying is you got to make sure that if you're not in alignment, then you got to make sure the words that are coming out of your mouth are consistent with the fact that you're not in alignment. Like, I respect the person that says, listen, I need to work out. Like, I'm totally out of shape. I totally need to work out. But that person's being in alignment. They're recognizing the fact that they're not doing what they need to do. But the person who's like not working out, not doing stuff, and is looking at somebody else like, why are you eating that? That's not crazy. Like, it's the funniest thing to me. My wife and I, we've got some friends. We love them to death. I mean, we love them to death. But I always crack up because my two friends, they go to like the health food store. They buy organic stuff. And when you offer them certain things, if it's not organic, and if it's like without, if it's not the organic best of the best stuff, then they don't want it. But then they'll be like, oh, well, I don't get that because it's not organic. It's not that. But then on the other hand, they'll like chow down on pizza and burgers and French fries. You're like, wait a second, this is not congruent. Like, you're buying high-end food and stuff from Whole Food and buying organic food because you quote unquote don't want to put anything that's not organic and stuff like that in your body, but then you'll consistently eat junk food. Like, that's not being congruent, right? And so we all have areas in our lives. I'm pretty sure that my wife could examine, because she's around me all the time, that she will be able to find places in my life that I'm not necessarily in 100% congruent. So what I want you to realize is this, is like, when you're talking about having success and making things happen in your life, if you're trying to figure out like, why isn't this thing happening for me? And why am I so frustrated about the fact that this thing's not happening? I'm telling you right now, chances are it's because you're not congruent. In other words, chances are it's because you're not in alignment. And you might be saying, well, Andy, what needs to be in alignment? These are the three things that need to be in alignment: your thoughts, your words, and your actions. All three of those things have to be in absolute alignment in order for you to be able to realize and have the things that you want in your life. And so it was like, for me, it won't always be that glaring, but it was just so crazy for me to have this conversation with this lady for like 30 minutes. And she's like, oh, I don't know if I could do this, and excuse after excuse after excuse. And as I was sitting across from her, I know at times in my life in the past, when it was time for me to make an investment in myself, I remember at times being right there where she was at. So I'm not saying it from a judgmental standpoint, because I've been there, right? Where fear is causing you to make up all these bogus excuses. And so you try to make it about the money. You try to make it about, you don't know if it's going to fit right with your calendar. You try to make it about, well, you have a lot of things on your plate. You try to make it about, well, you know, I got to check in with my spouse or whatever like that. And a lot of times it has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with fear, right? With you not believing that you're worth the investment, with you not believing that you're enough. And those two things is the issue. And the reason why I can tell you that is because I tell people the example all the time, right? It's like bizarre. So you might be talking to somebody. I'll give you an example. We'll throw this out. You might be talking to somebody about a $5,000 opportunity for them to invest in themselves. And they'll say, well, you know what? I don't have the $5,000, but if I did, I would totally do it. I know I need this. I would totally do it, but I don't have the $5,000. And they say, well, you know what? Don't you think you could come up with it? No, I can't come up with the $5,000. But here's what I want you to realize. If I were to, you know, if I were to drive my car around and you know, I remember this example, you know, from remember the movie Boiler Room? If you guys remember the movie Boiler Room. So I more recently, you know, I decided to buy another vehicle, right? And so I guarantee you, if I stopped the conversation right there, pulled my vehicle around and told the person, hey, look, if you can come up with $5,000 within the next 24 hours, I will hand you the keys to my car. I guarantee you that they would be able to come up with the $5,000 because they would look at the vehicle and they would say that vehicle is worth way more than $5,000. And so if I come up with the $5,000, I would have made out like a bandit. Now, here's where the problem lies. A lot of times we can see the value in a vehicle before we can see the value in ourselves. Now, I want you to realize that there's a problem with that. There's a problem with the fact that you can see the value in a vehicle before you can see the value in yourself. That's where we're talking about that there's a lack of congruency there. You say you want to level up. You say you want to increase your capacity. You say you want to get to the next level. And so what happens is there's a lot of little catchwords and phrases right now that we like to throw around because they're really cool and everybody's talking about around. So everybody's talking about, oh, level up, level up. You know, there's even a song right now, right? Level up, level up, level up, right? Right? You guys know that song, Level Up, right? So everyone's want to talk about leveling up. You know, I did a whole keynote one time about increasing your capacity, you know, about getting to the next level and all that stuff. And all those things sound great. But realize this, if they're just words, listen carefully, words that are not backed by your beliefs are just words. Listen carefully. Words that are not backed by your beliefs are just words. So you can say whatever you want, but if you don't believe it, if your thoughts are not in alignment with what you say, then it means nothing. You hear me? And so I know people get up every day and they say these affirmations, and I'm not trying to knock affirmations, but part of the reason why you say affirmations every single day is because a lot of times you start off saying it and you don't really believe it, right? So that's like the person who gets up every day and gives an affirmation. You know, I take care of my body. I'm in tip-top shape. You know, I only put in the best things. I sleep. I eat the organic stuff and so forth. And they know they don't do it. The reason why you try to say it all the time is because eventually you're trying to program yourself into believing those things that you say. But when you're just randomly throwing words out there and you're not making sure that you're working on your thoughts, your belief system, it means nothing. Because ultimately, your life is not going to be a reflection of your words. Your life is going to be a reflection of what you believe. What you believe will show up every single day. You hear me? And so someone doesn't even need to hear you to know what you believe. They simply need to observe what your actions are. If you see somebody that gets up every day, they work out, they got a morning routine, they only put good things in their body, they avoid things like that, then you already know what their belief system is about their body, about how they perceive themselves. Do you get me on that? And so I want you to understand this, that at some point you got to be willing to be in alignment. That's all I want you to get. And so at some point you got to decide up front, listen carefully, you got to decide who you're going to be, and then you need to be that person. You hear me carefully? You got to decide who you're going to be, and then you need to be that person. In other words, straight up, straight up, I'm telling you again, I'm going to tell you again, I told you before, you got to be in alignment. Do me a favor one more time in the comment section, put hashtag alignment, because listen, you cannot drive this down any deeper. If you can listen, I know we want things to be complex. We want the answers, the solution to our frustration and the things that are going on in our lives. We want them to be complex, but I'm telling you oftentimes, it's really not that complex. This is who you say you want to be. Are your words and are your thoughts congruent with who you say you want to be? You say you want to be this kind of a father. Are your words and are your thoughts congruent with it? You say you want to be this kind of wife. Are your words, are your thoughts congruent with it? You say you want to be this type of a businessman or a businesswoman. Are your words, are your thoughts congruent with it? You say you want to be a millionaire. Are your words and are your thoughts congruent with it? You say you want to make impact and use your gifts, your skills, and your talents to make an impact and change the world. Are your words and your thoughts congruent with it? You say that you want to close out this year strong. Are your words and are your thoughts congruent? Listen, that's what I'm trying to make you understand. And so all you've got to do is, in the words that they say sometimes, is you got to put up or you got to just shut up, right? I'm not saying it in a rude way, but listen to me carefully. You got to take some personal inventory here, and you got to say to yourself that are these three things in alignment? That's it. Are these three things in alignment? When you are congruent, when you're in alignment, things flow. When you're congruent, when you're in alignment, things penetrate, they work through. When you're not congruent, there's resistance. And not only that, when you get in front of other people, we are programmed innately to detect when somebody is not congruent. And, you know, it's so funny. And I talk to people about this all the time. You know, I got another one of my friends. His name is Trevor Otts. And he says something that I love. He says, you got to invest. We're talking about in yourself, right? He says, you got to invest at the level in which you expect results. You got to invest at the level in which you expect results. So one of the lessons that I give to people who are charging for their services is this. How can you stand and look somebody in the eye and tell them that you are charging them $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 for your services if you yourself have never spent $2,000, $5,000, whatever the number is, yourself on services? So you wonder why you're unable to close and convert people. The reason why you can't close and you can't convert people is because innately they are resisting what you have to offer. And you can't understand why. And sometimes they can't even pinpoint why they're resisting it. But the reason why they're resisting it is because innately they have resistance meter up. They can sense that something is wrong. You're not congruent. When a guy approaches a woman that he has never spoken to ever before in his life in a social setting. So there's a guy, he goes out to a restaurant and he sees this woman who's sitting around by the counter, and he decides that he's going to go up to her and approach her, and he tries to psych himself out, and then he goes to talk to her. And when he goes to talk to her, he's totally not being himself. He's like, hey, baby, what's going on, baby? How you doing? And that's not normally how he talks. So like, hey, how you doing or whatever. And that's not really who he is. And so immediately that girl is turned off and she dismisses him. Well, her girlfriend goes to her, girl, why did you dismiss him like that? I don't know. He just creeped me out. You know what creep me out means? It didn't feel right. You know what it didn't feel right means? He's not congruent versus the other guy that just walks up and is just himself and he says, hey, how you doing? Nice to meet you. Are you having a good time? And he's just being himself. The woman will actually be more attracted to that dude because he's being congruent, and she will actually look at it, wow, that's pretty attractive that he was willing to just come up and just strike a conversation, and yet it felt very real and it felt very genuine. You get that? because he's being congruent. I want you to get that. I'm not saying I'm trying to give some dating lessons, some dating advice here, but I'm just using it to drive another point. You get me on this? That you have no idea that how those around you are able to sense when you're not being congruent. And so I want you to be just as sensitive. Do you hear me? Just as sensitive to congruency and being in alignment as those around you. You know, we got somebody right now in the comment section. You know, her name is Dr. Lynn. Dr. Lynn is both a good friend and also a coaching client and student of mine. She's in my mastermind program and a graduate of my Master Storyteller Academy. And Dr. Lynn will tell you, as a chiropractor, that oftentimes when you're out of alignment, you will sense that something isn't right. And oftentimes when people are out of alignment, you would try to overcompensate for the fact that you're out of alignment in one place. I got a friend of mine, he had polio as a young kid. And because he had polio as a young kid, one of his legs has great amount of atrophy. In other words, one of his legs is significantly weaker, and he actually has to have a brace around that leg. And the last time that we were together, he was experiencing a whole lot of pain in the other leg, the leg that is much stronger and the leg that is fully healthy. And the reason why he was experiencing great pain in the healthy leg is because the healthy leg is compensating for the other leg that was affected by the polio. And so that other leg that is weak, the other leg that has atrophy, the other leg that has a brace on it, he's overcompensating for that leg with the healthy leg. And so what happens is when you're not in alignment, when you're not being congruent, you begin to try to overcompensate. And that's where we get people who are big talkers. You know, people who are just over talkers. They want to tell you about stuff. Like, people crack me up. I get on the phone with people and they start trying to tell me about how much money they made and all that stuff. They'll tell me, like, I remember, I'll never forget, I was talking to this guy. He applied for one of my programs. He's talking to me. He's like, I'm like, oh, yeah, so what do you do? He's like, oh, yeah, so, you know, I'm a real estate investor, and, you know, I made millions in real estate, and you know, and I'm a businessman, I'm an entrepreneur, and I manage people, I got teams and all that. And this guy starts telling me, and then he's like, oh, yeah, and I just had to get my car, and he found a way to work in how much money he makes. He found a way to work in what kind of car he drives. I mean, this guy, I don't know what it was. He just tried to just tell me so many things. And then, can you believe, when we finally ended the conversation and I told him what the investment was for my program, that this guy told me that, oh, well, you know, I got to wait on a couple of things. I was like, wait a second. You just told me you're a millionaire. You just told me you got this car. You just told me all these things, whatever. And you need to get back to me over a conversation for less than $3,000. But you this, that. So that guy's not being congruent. But I want you to understand that part of that lack of congruency is because when we're out of alignment in one area, we tend to try to overcompensate in another area. And that's why we get people who overinflate their words, because of the fact that they know that their thoughts and their actions are not congruent. Do you get that? And so we want to make sure that we're in full alignment. And when we show up as that person, we want to catch ourselves. Right? When we show up as that person, we want to catch ourselves. Like, there's a couple of times that I've been trying to be really intentional about catching myself. Wait a second, Andy, wait a second here. Be careful before you allow yourself to get out of congruency, where you allow yourself to no longer be in alignment. At all times, your thoughts, your words, and your actions have to be in alignment. You get me on that? I hope you're getting this, because this is life-changing. This will release you and get you to that next level. Do me a favor right now. First of all, go ahead and hit the share button. Go ahead and hit the share button. Now, before we leave, I want to always give this away. Most of you have already taken advantage of this. If you haven't already done so, I want to give you this. This is my gift for you. I train people, as you know, speakers, coaches, entrepreneurs, influencers, to be able to take their stories, their personal stories, to make genuine connection, to attract their customers and their clients, to have greater impact, make more success, and really be able to truly level up in the marketplace and take their brand to the next level. And so one of the things that I do have is a bonus free training. It's a quick video training in which I share with you how you leverage stories to connect with people, overcome their objections, and then get them to take action. And so I want you to take advantage of this training. And all you got to do is text the word show up, all one word. If you got an iPhone, it's going to try to put a space between the word showing up. Back out that space because it needs to be connected. Text the word show up to 954-278-3701. Once again, that's 954-278-3701. And when you do that, just go ahead and follow the instructions. You're going to be prompted to do two other things. Follow the instructions, and then you will get a text message with the link to the training as well as the email. So I want to make sure that you do that. So I start off this conversation telling you this. Listen carefully because I want you to get this. I want you to get this. If you are experiencing any level of frustration in your life, in other words, you got a goal, you got a dream, you got a vision, something that you're going after, and it's not happening for you. You want it to happen faster. You want to really, truly be able to have it become fruition for you. And you're sick and tired of being sick and tired. I want you to do a gut check. I want you to take some personal inventory. And I want you to really ask yourself this question. Am I in alignment? Am I being the person that I say that I am? When I look at my words, when I look at my thoughts, and when I look at my actions, are those things fully in alignment? Are my thoughts, are my words, and are my actions in alignment? You need to ask yourself that question. Are your words, are your thoughts, and are your actions in alignment? Because at some point, every single one of us has to do this one thing. We got to decide who we're going to be, and then we have to be that person. I'm going to say it again. I know it sounds simple, but it really isn't that simple. You've got to decide who you're going to be. First, decide who you're going to be. I'm going to be this kind of a husband. I'm going to be this kind of a wife. I'm going to be this type of a businessman or this type of businesswoman. I am going to be this person in the marketplace. I am going to be this person. Physically, I am going to be this person. Spiritually, decide who you're going to be. And then you need to be that person. And being that person means that you have to have the thoughts of that person. And it also means that you have to have the actions of that person. And when you can think like that person, when you can act like that person, then you will be that person and you will be in alignment and you will be able to fulfill and also be able to enjoy what it is like to be that good husband, be that good wife, to be that great businessman, to be that person that's at a certain weight level. And I'm telling you right now, stop relying on willpower. Willpower will get you through for a month. It might even get you through for 2 weeks. It might even get you through for a couple of months. But eventually, willpower is not enough. What will always come to the surface is what your thoughts are. Willpower is driven by your conscious mind, the frontal cortex of your brain. That is willpower. You decide, I'm going to lose the weight. You decide you're going to go on the diet. You decide you're going to start doing the things that you need to do. That's great. But if your subconscious mind, your beliefs haven't bought into it, it's the reason why every time you break the diet within a couple of months. It's the reason why every time you stop paying off the debt. It's the reason why every time you stop doing the things that you need to do to take your business to the next level. Why? Because you're not in alignment. So at some point, all three have to be in alignment. You hear me? All three. Your thoughts, your actions, and your words. Be in alignment, folks. And once you do that, everything changes. I told you I was going to share with you the one thing that you must do in order to get the things that you want out of life. And that one thing is you got to be in alignment, baby. You got to be in alignment. So go ahead and do me a favor. Go ahead and hit the share button because I believe there's somebody that you're connected to, friend, family member, somebody that you know that they need to hear this message. Even if all they do is get a piece of it, that little piece might be exactly what they need to do to give themselves a gut check and get back in alignment so that they can get themselves moving forward towards their goals and their dreams. Listen, this is Andy Henriquez. And of course, like always, I want to thank you for tuning in for the Show Up for Your Life motivational live stream. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope you got great value from this message. Hey, listen, if you got some value from this message, go ahead in the comment section. Say me, 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 me. Go ahead and put me in the comment section. That's just your way of letting me know that you got some value from tonight's message. Let me know that I was talking to you, that you got some message. Go ahead and put me in the comment section. So hopefully you got something from this message tonight. And I want you to pass it on. Pass it on. You catch a friend, they're not being congruent, they're out of alignment, call them out on their stuff. Call them out on their stuff. Listen, do you hear me? Call them out on their stuff, right? Call them out on their stuff. You want to be a real friend? You want to be a real husband, real wife? Now, you don't have to call people out nasty. Call them out with love. Like, you got to let people know, listen, I just got off a message tonight. I was listening to this guy named Andy Henriquez. He was talking about being in alignment. And you know, I'm telling you right now, as your friend, as your husband, as your wife, you're not in alignment right now. You're not in alignment. Like, you're saying that you're saying that this is who you want to be, but you're not in alignment. Your actions are not consistent. Your thoughts are not consistent with what you're saying. And when they're saying certain things like, oh, I don't know if I can do it. You know, I don't know if it's possible. I don't know if I'm going to. No, you got to call them out on that. Come on, man. Get in alignment, baby. Get in alignment. I mean, you either want to make it happen or you're not. You're either going to be this person or you're not. You're either going to be this woman or you're not. Like, which is it, right? If you're not going to be that person, that's okay. But stop trying to act like you're that person and making up fake things, right? And so just get in alignment, get in alignment, get in alignment, get in alignment. And I've got to say that to myself every single day, the moment that I find myself being out of alignment. And so it is an everyday thing. Get in alignment is not a one-time thing. You don't get in alignment one time and you're done, right? Dr. Lynn, who's with us right now, she'll tell you, you don't go to see the chiropractor one time. You don't say, oh, hey, chiropractor, listen, my back's out of alignment. Give me an adjustment one time and then you set for life. It doesn't work like that, right? Even when you're driving your vehicle, right, you don't get in alignment one time and then you're done, right? Because you're going to drive on a rough road and eventually you hit something and it pushes the car out of alignment. So you got to get it back in alignment, right? And when you're out of alignment, you start getting pulled in the opposite direction of where you want to go. And so you want to go straight. You want to go straight for your goals and your dreams. You want to go straight to the next level in your business. You want to go straight in your finances. You want to go straight in losing the weight. And then what ends up happening is because of the fact that you're not in alignment, you start pulling to the left or you start pulling to the right, right? And so I want you to understand, you got to get in alignment. That's what the issue is, right? And they even tell you, like, if you are driving a vehicle and your vehicle is not in alignment, you actually will wear out your tires faster than they should. You will end up throwing money away and wasting the life of your tires. The same thing happens in your personal life. Like, you begin to dwindle and lose out on time. You lose out on the things that you would have accomplished. You lose out on fulfillment. You lose out on your joy when you're not in alignment. You shorten the time span of those things. So just get in alignment, baby. Get in alignment. Get in alignment. Stop being cheap. Go see the chiropractor. Stop being cheap. Go to the tire place. Get in alignment, okay? And then the main person I need you to get in alignment with too is get in alignment with yourself. Go see yourself. Look at yourself in the mirror and say, what are your thoughts? What are your actions? And what are they saying about you? Right? If you want to know who you are, look at what your thoughts are and look at what your actions, and it will tell you exactly who you are. So all you got to do is get in alignment. If that scares you and you don't like what you see, very easy. Don't panic. Don't freak out. It's okay. You're only human. Change your thoughts, change your words, change your actions, and then life changes. That's all it is. You don't like what you see right now? Change your thoughts, change your words, change your actions, and everything begins to change. It's a powerful formula, folks. Get in alignment. Hey, I want to thank you so much for spending this time with me. I hope you got tremendous value from this message. If you haven't already done so, go ahead and hit the share button. I'll be talking to all of you soon, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. God bless you. Have a good night. All right.